Hi everybody, intern here. I've been gone for like a month now, but that's because of school. For the most part, I'm finished with that now, so we're back. We are back. I ran a poll on Twitter, as I love to do, and I was asking y'all, what do you want me to talk about? I'll just talk about anything. I'll give you 4 options. You tell me what you want me to talk about. And of course, y'all voted Max versus Charles. So that's what we're talking about today, Max versus Charles. Now, anyone that's known me for a good while knows that I've always said that Max Verstappen was a better driver than Charles Leclerc. However, I have also said this season that the gap between them, the talent gap between them rather, is a lot closer than I had previously thought. And I had said that after Bahrain, because it had become evident to me that, all right, Leclerc is not just some guy that's a tier below Max. He's almost on that same tier. I wouldn't say he's fully on there yet, because I just think Max is that guy. I think you just watch F1. It's kind of hard to argue against it. I mean, he's a walking... I was going to call him a walking podium, but he's not a walking podium. He's a walking top 2 finish, if we're being real. Every time he finishes on the podium, it's first or second. It's been like that since the start of last year, right? Actually, even before last year, but we move, right? So I feel as though when it comes to Leclerc and Max, people think I have a Leclerc agenda. I really don't. I praised him for winning Australia, and everyone just thought I was immediately on the Charles Leclerc hype train. I never once said he was better than Max Verstappen. I just praised him because he drove very well that day and he won the race. He controlled it from start to finish. Yeah? But it takes more than that for me to believe that he's a better driver than Max Verstappen. Listen, Max Verstappen, fake title or no title, however Abu Dhabi ended, he brought Lewis Hamilton all those races. He took a 7-time champion to his limits. His mental limits, his physical limits. He did that. Seb couldn't do that. Right? All the spins, all of the car just not being there. Seb didn't do that. Rosberg did, but he had to do it in the same car, right? This is the first time we've seen a guy take Hamilton in another car, whether better, whether worse. I think it was better in certain situations, probably more often than not, worse in others. There were definitely races last year where the Merc was clear-cut the best car on the grid. In fact, you could even argue that the Merc was the best car on the grid last 4 races of the season when Hamilton went off. It was better in Turkey as well. It was good in Portugal. It was good at the beginning of the season. Yeah? Max did that. And I always said, if Leclerc is on if Leclerc is on Max's level, then what you're saying is, if I put Charles Leclerc in that situation that Max was in last year, he too would do just as well as Max, if not better. And part of me just doesn't feel like he can. Just doesn't feel like he can. And after he spun in Imola, I was like, all right, you know something? Maybe he's not that guy. When I say he's not that guy, I mean as it regards challenging Max. I was like, maybe he's just not there, right? Got flamed for it, even though I'd always said that I thought Max was better than Charles, right? I do not think it's impossible for Charles to one day be a better driver than Max Verstappen. I think of all the drivers on the grid, maybe bar Hamilton, he's the closest to Max's talent level. When I used to rank drivers on Twitter, I would always have Max, Lewis, Charles, then a variation of 4th downwards, right? And it's still there. I don't even know if Charles is a better driver than Lewis. Is Charles even a better driver than Lewis Hamilton right now? We don't know. Maybe he is. Maybe there's an argument for it. Granted, Hamilton's in a slump right now, but this is the same guy that was challenging for a world championship just a couple months ago. He hasn't just completely lost it over the offseason, right? I do not know. I'll say this though. He's definitely bringing the fight. I know Max has had the DNFs, but he's brought the fight. Imola was not good, in my opinion. He didn't win pole, couldn't hold off Max in the sprint, got jumped at the start by Checo, couldn't get past Checo, spun while chasing him. That is just not a good look. It's just not a good look, right? But that doesn't mean Max probably won't have a race like that later. Maybe Max has a race like that later this season, and I come back and I'm like, all right, Max, you did the same thing. Maybe I need to take a rewind. Maybe I need to evaluate both of you again now that I have more to go off of. You know? It's been 4 races, and I really say that a lot because it really has. It's really just been 4 races. So it's kind of hard to jump to conclusions. You can do it jokingly, as I would always do on Twitter. I'll jokingly say, oh, this guy's finished. But if we're being real, if we're actually being objective, we're watching the sport, analyzing what's taking place, I don't think there are any conclusions you can jump to right now as regards anybody, right? I'm not jumping to the conclusion that Max is better than Charles because it's a thought that I've always had. But that doesn't mean it won't change by the end of the season if I see later on that Max is making mistakes and Charles is keeping his head. Right? Of course, right? So that's where I'm at right now. I do think Max is a better driver. I also do think that of the 4 races so far, maybe Ferrari have had the upper hand. They definitely got pole in Bahrain. They weren't far off pole in Saudi. They were definitely better in Australia. Imola, maybe Red Bull were better. Both drivers were making a lot of mistakes. But it's obvious that both of those cars are clear of the rest of the grid. So you can only compare them against each other. But we saw Max lose out to Charles at the beginning of the sprint race. And he kept within range of him. He never dropped further than 2 seconds. He was always behind him. And once Leclerc's tires went off, Max pounced. Is that Leclerc being bad at tire management, or is that the Ferrari being bad at tire management? I personally don't know. But at the end of the day, every time Max Verstappen has finished a race this year, he's won. And who knows, maybe he could have won in Bahrain too if his car didn't die. We don't know. Maybe he gets by Leclerc. Maybe Leclerc outsmarts him again like he was doing earlier in the race. We do not know. I do not know. I'm only going off of history. And history has told me that Max Verstappen, to me, is a better driver than Charles Leclerc. However, Leclerc does have a bit of luck on his side so far. He's had the 2 DNFs for Max, obviously. Even with Sergio. If Sergio Perez didn't have the Bahrain DNF, he'd be within a race win of Leclerc right now. Because he would have had finishes of 3rd, 4th, 2nd, and 2nd. And that would definitely keep him within Charles' range. But the advantage is to Charles right now because he has the points lead. He has over a race win's worth of points on Max Verstappen. So now that you have that lead, he's already squandered some of it with the spin in Imola. But it's not finished. It's not over, right? He still has a race win's worth of a lead. Even if he has the worst race of his life in Miami, he will still exit that race with the title lead, right? It's a big lead to have, and it's a very good lead to have. But it's also a very long season. And if there's anything I've learned from playing Cockpit Manager, it's that with the length of these seasons, there's so much more time to make up for mistakes. There's so much, that was even something that you could tell from last season when Hamilton was making a couple of mistakes. But because of the length of the season and because there were more races available to him, he took advantage of that. And he managed to close the gap to Max going into Abu Dhabi because of those extra races, right? So it's the same thing with Max and Leclerc. Max is behind now, but it's a very long season. So even with these 2 DNFs, he can keep chipping away at the lead, and he might even be leading the standings 3 races from now, 2 races from now, depending on how Leclerc goes. If Leclerc has a couple good races, he'll extend that lead and he'll keep himself a race win ahead of Max. It depends on how the Ferrari will adapt to the tracks that we're coming up to. We're going to Miami, we're going to Spain, we're going to Monaco soon. And based on how the Ferrari operates, we saw it in Saudi, it's very good in those slower corners. It's very good in slower situations, twisty corners, right? Whereas the Red Bull clearly has the straight line speed advantage. So if we're going to a track like Spain, Ferrari, in theory, should be expected to dominate. The bottom line is, what I'm trying to say is, if Leclerc has the best car, he needs to be beating Max. If Max has the best car, he needs to be beating Leclerc. It's kind of fluctuated this year. I feel like it's half and half in terms of who's had the better car going into a certain race. But as it stands right now, I have Max Verstappen ahead of Charles Leclerc. I feel as though he's just got more experience. He really just doesn't spin or crash or make mistakes. He really just doesn't. If he did, he wouldn't have as many podiums as he does. He's really like got his head on his shoulder, man. Like, you look back at the 2018 season at the beginning when he was just spinning around, just being in tons of goofy accidents. That Max Verstappen is a Max of the past. This is probably the most mature Verstappen we'll ever see, or we've ever seen. It definitely is, right? Max is probably at his most mature right now. Probably because he doesn't have that championship pressure on him anymore. Probably because he's trying to just make up points and he's not risking anything anymore because he knows that he's that far behind because of the DNFs. There are many things that are at play. But in conclusion, I've said it a couple times now, I'm going to say it again. I think Max Verstappen is clear of Charles Leclerc. I think he is a better driver. It's not set in stone. This is only my opinion. It could change. If Max begins to make more mistakes this year and Leclerc doesn't, then fair enough. Maybe Leclerc is better. Maybe I've been wrong. But we'll have to keep watching. We'll have to keep seeing, man. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I was going to have a Perez-Sainz debate, but I genuinely think like Perez is just better. It's not even a debate to be had. You could have this debate about who's the closest driver appearing on the grid? Probably Gasly and Tsunoda, right? I don't know. But yeah, that's all I have to say. I'm just glad to be back. I got a video on the way. I've been working on it for months now. I was almost finished with it. And then schoolwork hit and I had to delay it. I had to postpone it, all of that. But I'm gonna finish it. It's gonna come to the channel real soon. It's one of them deep videos. We bringing it back to them Schumacher vids, them Colin McRae vids. It's gonna be just like that. So I can't wait for that to come out. And yeah, we're back. Intern's back. Very excited to continue making content for y'all. Thank you for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, do all of that good stuff. Support the channel, share it, tell a friend that Intern Talks Wheel exists. Do all of that good stuff. Yeah? Thank you very much. Until next time.